Joined us just to give you a quick overview because I know we have some Shadow to Shine mentees in here and we have some members of the public as well. Hi, Francis.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, so for those joining us right now who aren't Shadow to Shine mentees and who are members of the public, just a quick overview of Shadow to Shine. So we're a youth initiative that provides training, mentoring and employability training to young people who are 16 to 25 in a range of different industries and areas. And part of the work we do alongside that is giving young people an insight into different industries, different career choices, and just tips on how to get to where they want to be in life. And a lot of the young people are coming forward to us with an interest in entrepreneurship, in an interest in starting their own business, which is why we've put together this panel today as part of our Industry Insight series. So 58% of Gen Zs have said that they wanted to own their own business. And actually during COVID, GoDaddy found that 630,000 people set up a new enterprise during the pandemic. So it's obviously on the rise, and it's something that is probably more kind of desirable to young people now than a traditional career ever was. But a lot of startups fail. A lot of businesses fail within the 20% of businesses fail within the first year. So we thought this is more important to put on this seminar to get hints and tips and find out about entrepreneurship. So without further ado, I'll introduce our panel. We have Manoj, we have Sasha, and we have Francis. Manoj is CTO of a tech app called Hammock. Sasha is the founder of the Happy Hair Company, and Francis is the founder of Flickerwick. So I'll give you all guys a chance to introduce yourselves properly, and we'll get into the webinar and start answering questions. But I thought I'd start with Sasha, if you could kind of introduce yourself to everyone who's watching and explain about what you do.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Hope everyone's okay. Okay, so I'm Sasha. I own 4 brands at the moment. The main one being the Happy Hair Company. So that's coming up to its 3rd year now. That it's my 2nd business in terms of I had one before. So that's the core business, and that is kind of like luxury protective hair accessories. So satin pillowcases, bonnets, that kind of thing. And our demographic is natural curly hair. And then more recently, I've kind of created some additional avenues under the umbrella of Happy Hair Limited. Diaz J is around self-care for men. We've got some men's candles and stuff coming through there with the beard towel and that kind of thing. Also got Curly Bride Company, which is a very high-end gift and accessory bridal shop. And then we've got Jamaican Candles, which is Jamaican scented candles, so like nostalgic food and that kind of thing. So quite a lot going on at the moment. I've been an entrepreneur for coming up to about 6 years now, I think. So it's been an interesting journey. I don't know how much information you want me to share at this point, so hopefully that's okay.
No, please go ahead. So share your journey. Where did it start? And like, were you working before and you left your job, or was this always something you were doing?
Yeah, so I've worked since I was 16. So I've had quite an interesting journey from a very young age. It's been full of trauma, full of challenges, but that also equipped me with some really unique skill sets that have been invaluable within entrepreneurship, really. So when I was 16, I kind of was in a hostel, left school, went straight into work, doing admin and that kind of thing at a solicitor's and then a property company. And then my main bulk of my employment career started at Experian. So that was when I was around 21, and that's financial services. So it was more business to business aspects. And that gave me a lot of insight into the commercial world. So a lot of the stuff that I guess was kind of the platform in me understanding business from an employee point of view came from those roles, because I was surrounded by senior leaders all the time. The language that they were using and that kind of thing, you know, really helped in that regard. So I was there for 6 years, worked my way up the company. I ended up being a technical product manager there, which was kind of unheard of coming from It was like customer service, client relations, and then I ended up going on to technical product management, and then got made redundant in, gosh, you're trying to get me to remember stuff. 2009, I think it was, and I just bought a house. Not long had my daughter, and then I got made redundant. So then there was kind of like a year out of work. And then I did some more technical roles and that kind of thing. And what led me to entrepreneurship was when I had my daughter, she was about to start school. It was a very male-dominated environment that I worked in, very tech. They didn't have an interest in flexible working. So when it was time for me to ask for that flexible working in terms of, can I leave early and, pick Jaya up, the answer was no. So I kind of had this strange, really nice trip in London and came back and I was like, you know what, actually, I'm not staying here. Like, I've just had a really nice weekend and then I've come back and it's super stressful. So I decided to hand my notice in with the view of finding something else because my skill set was really good. My CV was really good at that point. And flexible, in terms of flexible working, there was just nothing. So around the same time, I had an idea of doing a recruitment consultancy for people like me. So somebody that wanted more flexible working and that kind of thing, specifically around parental employment. So that's what I did. So that was my first business, which I launched. And there was some really good points to that. And I worked with some big businesses like Google and stuff. But when the contract fell through with one client, which was 20, 30K per contract, there was no income, right? So I was kind of due like 3 clients in the year that the business kind of started fading and winding down, and all 3 projects at once were put on hold. That was 50K, 50, 60K gone, and then no income coming in.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happened with that. And around the same time, I had the concept of the Happy Hair Company. So fortunately for me, the timing of when I have these ideas falls well in terms of, things aren't really going well. So that's kind of how it led on to, kind of by accident in terms of hair, because each industry that I've been in, I haven't had experience in. Yeah. So retail, I didn't have experience in the retail. But as I said at the start, fortunately, I've kind of got a few skills that enable to me to do a lot of research, but then hit the ground running. So as I said, 3 years into.
Do you think skills are more important than any type of experience in this industry, being an entrepreneur?
No, I don't. Yes and no. So I don't think experience in terms of having specific experience in that industry or in that role is always necessary. I think I'm very much proof of that. I've made successes of businesses in industries that I've never operated in. But I do think you need certain skill sets. And again, not kind of in that field, but you need a certain skill set, or it's skill sets and also kind of your personal qualities, right? Like your drive and your personal aspects of yourself that kind of come to the forefront, especially when you're doing something that you haven't done before, or you're in an industry that you haven't been before. It then falls to you, in terms of your personality, how resilient are you, how driven are you? And because obviously I've come from a very challenging background from a very young age, fortunately for me, I'm a bit more equipped to go into those spaces to, have those challenges happen. So I 100% don't think you need experience to succeed in something, but you do need certain qualities, I think.
So where should our young people start? Like, they're at all different levels, but say they've got an idea. How do you turn an idea into an actual business?
I'm probably like one of the worst people to ask these kind of things, because I kind of do things a little bit differently, and I am a true innovator. So I have ideas pretty much every day. I hardly sleep because my brain's always going. Yeah. What's important is to really just validate, kind of separate them out from the noise and what's actually feasible, what can really work. But I do feel like spend a little bit of time, and it is a small amount of time, intentional, but it's small, to qualify what's right. the best ideas for me are always through personal need. So, for example, the Happy Hair Company started as a hair storage box for hair products. It wasn't anything what it is today. And that was purely from personal need of me and my daughter just having tons of hair products and nowhere to put them, right? So I kind of married that up with my other experience and started putting like gender stereotype breaking images on there, young black girls with afros that was an engineer and STEM characters and that kind of thing on the actual boxes. And that came from personal need and my desire to create more opportunities in STEM for females and stuff. So, and then again, all of these things that I've kind of launched thereafter have come from a personal need of mine or somebody else's. So I think in terms of ideas, like concepts, if you get one, that's great, because actually that's not easy either. I have a lot of clients come to me and say, I really want to be self-employed, but I don't even have any ideas. I don't know how to create ideas. And that is the challenge in itself. But the thing that I always say in that regard is kind of what I've just said, go from personal need and definitely try and do something that you enjoy. So it might be something that you think one day, like, I could really do with that. You know, like, or, you know, when I'm listening to my music, it's so annoying that I can't do this or I can't have that. And you can create that. It's that kind of thing. And also another point that I'd just say in terms of ideas, I actually have a book. I published a book, which is like a guided ideas journal, which is, it's before business case stage, business plan stage, which is really just brain dumping. Because as I said, like, I have a load of ideas and it's just like getting it out on paper and qualifying it to a point that you think, right, do I really want to do a full-blown business plan with this? Do I need to take this any further? So I think that process is really, really helpful, especially if you're somebody that has multiple ideas. And don't share them too much early on, because not everybody will have your vision and they might not have the same needs. So you might share it with too many people or too many friends or the wrong person, and that could stop you from launching it altogether, right? So yeah, I think it's just that kind of thing. And to just do it. I think if you overthink and think it too much, it can really stop you from doing stuff.
So you've got so much on your plate then. You've got all your businesses, you have so many ideas. If there's such a thing, what is a typical week like for you day to day? What does it look like?
It's a bit crazy. It's crazier at the moment because we've got homeschooling. So I'm a single mum and full on single in terms of that I am the whole support network. So I do everything. Fortunately for me, she's 10, so she's not super young anymore. And the way that the schools have done the homeschooling now is that the teacher's much more involved. So at the moment, even though I am having to get involved with homeschooling, it's not as full on as it was. But when she's at school, it is literally drop her off at school. And it's very unhealthy habits that I have at the moment. I was trying to break out before lockdown, but it is literally drop her off at school and then I work from home the vast majority of the time. And it is full on tunnel vision. And it might be stuff like paying invoices or sending them out to suppliers. It might be arranging some of the shipping labels for my team. So I have like a team of seamstresses across the UK that make some of my stuff. I have the candle supplier that makes the stuff, and it's kind of managing all those relationships. I still manage the social media because it's a real niche. It's a very powerful tool, my engagement with our community and our customers. So I spend a good chunk on Instagram. I schedule the posts, but in terms of interaction, I spend quite a bit of time on Instagram. So it really is full on. As I said, it can be the kind of day-to-day. I do have some help with admin because I get like a virtual assistant to assist me with email and stuff like that. But it might be validating something new. It's probably launching a new business. It's managing multiple businesses. It was for the Curly Bride company. We had to have the style photo shoot. So we've got product photography happening right now because obviously every time I launch a new business, I need product photography, and it is very much juggling. And I'm not the most organized person. I used to be a project manager, so you'd think that I was, but it is really just about Mondays. I don't Mondays is my day where I kind of take it very slowly to set the tone for the week. So I feel like Monday is that day, right, where it's just like stress, and it just feels like let's just get Monday out of the way. So I take Monday very slowly. I don't very rarely have meetings or consultations on a Monday. It's kind of like, let me just like ease into this, and then full throttle on Tuesday. So yeah, it's really varied. I'm still very hands-on, and I do need to get away from it as much as possible, because I do feel burnt out a lot of the time. It's inevitable. There's just so much, and so many across so many brands. The burnout is inevitable. So yeah, it is full on.
I can imagine. And I think when people think of entrepreneurship, they do think of like this kind of crazy full-on lifestyle, doing everything, juggling a lot. And I think for every entrepreneur, people kind of have a different approach and a different take. Some people outsource a lot, some people do it all themselves. I'm sure it depends on budget as well. And
it does, like, largely.
Yeah,
and I think that's something that's really significant, because one thing that I did want to kind of touch on in some capacity here is that a lot of the narratives around business and entrepreneurship is, it doesn't really consider somebody that doesn't have the money. Truly, you know, if we really look at some of the narratives, it's not possible to do that without any money or support network. And the reality of it is, some people truly do not have any money or any support network, right? So in that regard, you really truly just have to do what you can with what you have. And I think in that regard, so that's why a virtual assistant works for me at the moment, because I can pay them for the bits of time, and I know, you know, at least that day I don't have to handle emails or anything like that.
yeah.
Of course, if I could afford to, I would hand off and delegate so much more. Fortunately, obviously, I have the team that make the stuff. So, that alleviates that. I'm not physically making stuff, but it's just, there's that limitation of budget in terms of how much can you actually hand off, which is restrictive. But I still feel like you've still got a responsibility to yourself and the business, because eventually it is going to catch up to you if if you're doing too much. It's doable, because obviously we're doing it, but I think it does get to a point where, I think it was about a month ago, I had a week off social media altogether. That's the first time I've ever done it. Because I knew I needed to, I just needed to. I didn't stop working, but I stopped the social media aspect. No time on Instagram or schedule posts, and I was just able to get a load of stuff done. So it's navigating in a way that's realistic for you, really.
It's definitely necessary. And on the making products thing, Francis, I know at Flickerwick, you started by making products yourself, and you took a young person on from Shadow to Shine as well to teach them how to make candles. So from your point of view, if you share a bit about your journey and what you do, but how you found making the products, do you outsource? Do you agree with Sasha? Like, what's your approach?
Hi everyone, and thank you so much for putting this together, Karina and Joe. I'm Frances, and I'm the founder and CEO of Flickerwick Limited. It's a home and office fragrance brand, and we're actually branching into homeware very soon. In terms of products, I still make them myself. So no day is the same. I literally in the mornings, sometimes I'm awake till 2 a.m. Because now I have a system where I restock every week. But before that, I was still pouring everything based on the orders that come through. So if you place an order the night before, I'll up in the morning, taking all emails, response to all emails, wholesalers as well that we work with. So I have to respond to wholesalers, I have to make their products. So I have to prioritize a lot half the time. Just like Sasha, I have a virtual assistant now. She only manages the info at email address, and I still manage my Francis at email address. So I'm still having to do everything by hand. I think I'm not going to outsource because I enjoy the process, and having a team also helps, because then we've got music playing, we're chatting, and the day goes by very quick. When I took on the intern from Shadow to Shine, she was amazing, because she actually wants to start her own candle business. So we're able to chat through the process. I was able to walk her through the mistakes I made, so she doesn't make the same mistakes. I shared some links with her, and again, how to create her website. and what she needs to do on the legal side. So register the company. I've just trademarked but I started the process last year, but it came through on Monday. So I walked her through it just last week. I walked her through the trademarking process as well. So yeah.
And what's the Flickerwick journey? How did you start?
Okay, so again, like Sasha, I started with I worked in retail. I worked in Hamleys for 4.5 years, and then I went to university. So I started Flickerwick in 2014. I have a condition called polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS. And when I was diagnosed with that, I had to more or less go back to drawing boards, go through what I eat, what I can't eat with this condition. And what happens with PCOS is you actually gain weight without having to eat any of this junk. It's just a hormonal imbalance. So I realized that a lot of the candles I was buying, diffusers, were actually not natural. And it was causing a lot of damage to my body and of course my environment as well. So I decided to start making products. So I wanted to research how to make candles with non-toxic products. So that's why I came up with Flickerwick. So everything we use is 100% natural and everything is recyclable as well.
Okay. And so how did you go from researching, making that first candle to into the company you are today, into getting orders, growing your brand?
So I taught myself initially. I went on YouTube, watched so many videos on YouTube, and I started making it in my kitchen. I still work from home. And in 2019, I decided, so I quit my job on the 8th of February 2019. I was a contractor for Viva. And once my contract came to an end, I knew I didn't want to go back into it. I have this phase where I say, I've been hired, I've been fired. And so I used the experience I had quite a versatile experience in terms of work. I've been racially abused at work. I've had colleagues that have not been so nice, not just on a racist side, but just not nice people. So I always knew I wanted to start a company that was not going to was going to treat my team. I don't call them my staff, I call them my team. I treat everyone just as I want to be treated. So we're all friends at the end of the day. We will laugh. If something goes wrong, I will definitely tell you about it, but I'm not going to scream. I'm going to send nasty emails just because I remember my experience. So in 2019, I took a professional course, because I actually wanted to teach people how to make candles as well. So that's when I took a professional course, and I'm a professional candle maker trainer as well now. And yeah, so that's where I went from. So after my course, I decided to change all my packaging, rebranded the company in September 2019, and we launched our website May 2020.
Okay.
But prior to that, we were only making wedding favors, and then we launched the website, and literally Instagram and word of mouth, and yeah, that's where we are today.
Did you find you had to do any promotions, like paid promotions, budget on marketing, or was it all yourself organically?
I do it myself. So I run my own Instagram page, and yes, I had to do paid Instagram promos. Again, the website is built on Shopify, so I do a lot of the marketing through there as well.
Yeah.
And like Becky, I randomly came across Becky's Insta Live, one of her Friday ones, and I reached out to her and said, I know she works in property. I want to make candles for her, and took it from there. So everything I take, I guess, a leap of faith to approach people.
Yeah. So what challenges have you had along the way?
Not having anyone to support in terms of staff, so having to do everything myself. And also, when COVID happened, a lot of the suppliers ran out of stock.
Yes.
Really?
So I went through months of not having stock. I didn't have any tins, for instance. And one of my online stockists, I used to actually drive to her house and say, I need to collect the stuff because people are buying it on our website. And at one point we had no tins, but I had glassware jars. So I'd make the orders in the glassware and I'll put a little note saying, enjoy it in the new packaging. And that's basically, you always have to think on your feet.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I was doing. There were months where we didn't have any wax as well.
Yeah.
And then we have, so I'm in Ghana at the moment. And in Ghana, I was building a factory. So I was having to juggle the two and also fulfill orders in Ghana. And the borders in Ghana were closed. So I had to use DHL. And that cost a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I had to make it work.
So you're expanding internationally. Is that something you've always done, or is that a new?
So we since 2019, yes. So we've got 5 stockists in Ghana at the moment.
Yeah.
We're in America on our online store platform in America, and we're in Dubai, and we're in the international airport in Ghana.
So is it difficult then? Is there different rules and obviously, I guess, taxes, like going international from being a UK brand?
Yes, so we're having to pay taxes here in Ghana. We have to register. We have to have everything done separately to what we do in the UK. And of course, now with Brexit, we had to change things around as well with our EU clients.
Would you recommend to our young people, if they do want to make a product, that should they start locally, start UK and expand outwards, or can they have big dreams and think, I just want to go worldwide?
Definitely have big dreams. Don't ever limit yourself. However, do start in the UK, because the UK market will toughen you. Yeah. You know, they're selling online and you have to promote. You have to be very active on social media as well. I learned about a year ago that the social media, if you don't post regularly, your followers drop. But then again, your followers don't actually amount to the amount of sales you make every day. Mm-hmm. So, and I think a lot of people have that confused. They feel like, oh, I need to have 10K followers. If not, my products are doing well. I have less than 5K followers and we sell every day. So it's just what you're putting out there, and again, how you promote your products. Mm-hmm. That always helps. A little PR definitely helps as well.
Yeah. So Sasha was saying like her background of having to be resilient and just being a go-getter kind of helped her. What do you think are your qualities and skills that have helped you?
100% being resilient and taking no for an answer. Mm-hmm. I always believe that if that door closes, the next one will open.
Yeah.
I never ever take anything personal. So if I send an email out saying, oh, I'll give you a typical example. I reached out to a lady 7 months ago about having my products in her box. Right? She does these subscription boxes every month. And, you know, it was back and forth. I'll send an email, she'll not respond to me. I'll send a message on Instagram. I can see that she's read it and hasn't responded. But then I just thought, okay, in her own time, she's going to come to me. 2 days ago, I got an email from her. Yeah. And because I hadn't responded to her email, she sent a message on Instagram, just like what I was doing to her, saying, I've sent you an email, could you please check your emails? So I feel like never ever feel, because someone said no, that's the end of it. They're definitely gonna keep you in their book somewhere, and they'll reach out to you when the time is right, but don't ever give up.
Yeah. Great, thank you, Francis. And Manoj, slightly differently, because you're in the tech sphere, obviously I know you through your app, use Hammock, but could you introduce yourself and what you do as well to people, please?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thanks for having me here, and Sasha, Francis, great stories, really fantastic to hear that, really enjoyed it. So thanks for sharing that. So my name's Manoj Vasani, and I'm the CEO founder of the company called Hammock. And Hammock is a tech product, as Karina mentioned. So we're a challenger bank, so we offer current accounts and debit cards for the property sector, so like landlords, property managers, and hopefully tenants in the future as well. So people that open up a current account with us, typically they obviously get their sort code account number, debit cards, and they also upload the properties onto our platform. And then we reconcile like rent payments by property, do the bookkeeping, tax statements. So we're a niche banking service effectively for landlords. So that's a bit about my company. Mm-hmm. In terms of my story, I guess it's quite a long story, but I'll try and keep it short. So my background originally is in tech. So at first, I studied IT and also went to university, did computer science and AI. And then I quickly worked my way up fast as possible with startups, and then eventually started working for a large corporation called Informa Group. and then worked my way up there as well as the head of tech for one of their large portfolio companies. But I'll say, like, the most important thing that I've learned in my career is like just hard graft and grit, and just like the resilient to learning. So I think learning has just been the biggest game changer, and you can learn off anyone and everyone. And when I worked at when I graduated, I just took any job, and I took a job at a startup, and I was doing night shifts in IT, and it wasn't fun, like working weekends in a night shift or even midweek or whatever. But I wasn't getting paid great. I probably couldn't pay the bills at the time, but I just did it for the experience, because I know that there's so much competition in the job market, right? So I then left them and then went to work in Oxford. And when I worked in Oxford, I worked there for 3.5 years, and I lived in London still. So I used to drive to Oxford for an hour and 45 minutes each way. So I did about 3.5 hours of driving a day. And I did that for 3.5 years just to get the experience. My fuel was like £500 a month. I couldn't, honestly, I was putting stuff on my credit cards just to survive. But what I wanted was the experience, and my managers were fantastic, learning off them, and I just wanted the experience. And for me, it was just about hard graft and grit ready to get there. And then I eventually came back to London in 2011, and in 2011 I joined a FTSE 100 company, and then that's where I would say I learned a lot more from the corporate side. So a bit similar to Sasha and Francis, where they worked at Experian and Aviva. The corporate side of working in a company, it gives you processes, procedures. You learn how to deal with compliance, legal stuff. So I learned a lot there, and I stayed there for 4.5 years. And then I decided that I want to leave the corporate world again. I didn't like staying in the corporate world too much, so I decided I'm going to go back to startups. And then I started contracting at Moo.com, another prop tech company called The House Crowd, which is also fintech, and then another startup in online and letting agent and sales agent. And then in Jan 2019. I decided to take the plunge and set up Hammock. It was always my passion to start my own company, to be honest. It was just about finding the right time for me to do it because of financial difficulties, so we say. But yeah.
So did you always have the idea you were just waiting to start it, or was it literally just timing and you thought, I'll find an idea once I've got the money?
Yeah, so in 2015, when I quit Informal Group, that's when I decided I want to build my own company. I just didn't know what in. So I started contracting in different startups. And then in 2019, 18, that's when I kind of formulated the idea that I want to go into the property and finance sector, because I should have mentioned, very similar to Francis and Sasha, the best ideas are when you're solving your own problem. So I became a landlord in 2015. And then that's how I came across the problem. And then that's when I thought the idea of a dedicated banking service just for landlords. And, it will just, that typically when you have a bank account, you have your Sainsbury's shopping in there, your petrol bills, and then your rent payment coming in. And it's an absolute mess when you're filing your taxes at the end of the year. And I often get fined by HMRC because I do it late. So I was like, I'm sick of this. And even my accountant, I hope he's not going to watch this video, but I was frustrated at him because all of a sudden I got this massive tax bill, which I wasn't planning for. And I was like, oh, there's got to be a better way. So, but yeah, the idea came eventually. I just, the idea is not always there. It just takes time to come. And then when you eventually find it, you just got to pursue it. And who knows, it might not work still, right? So, it's very, very hard building a business. But you just got to go take the plunge, I think.
So Francis and Sasha both make physical products and they have actual products, but in the tech world, it's kind of different because there's no physical product. How is that? Do you have to be good at tech yourself? Do you have to outsource people? If someone has an app idea, should they learn to code or just save and hire a developer?
Yeah, so I don't think you need to learn to code at all. So I mean, if you're trying to build a bank, maybe like you need to probably hire someone that has that expertise, for example, or partner up with someone that has that expertise. But yeah, you don't need to have coding experience. I mean, obviously, I've got quite a technical background, so that was kind of my advantage setting this up. But yeah, I don't think you need a technical background. There's so many resources out there, and platforms like Shopify is fantastic. It just makes it easier for non-tech people to set up an e-commerce site, start trading straight away. And there's like Squarespace, and there's loads of other platforms out there that can help you build up a website. But yeah, I don't think tech expertise is necessary.
So have you come across any challenges so far with Hammock?
Yeah, almost every day is a challenge, but like the biggest challenge for me actually was because what we're trying to build is like so complex, and it's so expensive to build it as well, right? So the biggest challenge for me was actually fundraising, finding people to invest in me. I think that was like the hardest challenge that we faced, and I'll say like asking someone for their money is and someone's worked hard for that money as well. They've saved that, and that's someone else's inheritance, and then you're telling them, look, I'm going to build this company, I'm going to make it successful, you should invest that money into me, and they then have to believe in your vision. That's a very, very tough thing. And I think in my type of startup, we're always going to be fundraising, unfortunately, because what we're building is very expensive, so we're always going to lean on fundraisers. But I think fundraising is one of the hardest things. The other challenges that we have is our product is quite complex. So we deal with FCA regulations, protecting the customer's money, cybersecurity, and then go-to-market strategy. It's because we're after landlords, and landlords could be anyone. A lot of landlords are part-time, some are full-time. And they all have different day jobs. Of where do you find these people? And that's one of the biggest challenges, I'd say.
Okay. And what's a day in the life like for you?
Well, we're talking about work, right? That's work.
Well, work and life, because sometimes there's other things. I know obviously you have a son. I know you work with charity, so I guess life and work.
Yeah. So my work life is just full of meetings. If I'm honest with you, like I have literally like non-stop meetings, 9 to 6 or even 9 to 8 p.m. And I have a lot of meetings with my team members. So I have two co-founders as well. And I think like if you're going to start your own company, like do consider having like partners. It does help release the burden of building a startup massively. It's definitely helped me. And the other good tip there I can give you is the reason I decided to get co-founders is because I knew in the future I wanted to have children. And like if you imagine like trying to take paternity leave when you're the only founder and the CEO, and then you're managing a team of people, and then you want to take 4 weeks off, 6 weeks off, it's just really, really difficult. So I was like kind of always forward thinking, like I need to have a life outside of work as well. So I deliberately recruited co-founders. But they're also people that I know, so it's quite fun to work with them as well. So yeah, my typical days, like loads of different meetings with marketing, with sales, with tech, with customers, partnerships, and then outside of work, as you mentioned, Karina, I do loads of charity work. So I dedicate a big. I've been doing charity work from the age of 20. It's a massive passion of mine. And I believe like one of the greatest gifts that we have is being able to help others. And probably what I haven't talked much about is where my grit and resilience comes from, is because I had a pretty tough childhood and didn't really trust adults, shall I say, when I was young. And for that reason, I always just tried to just do everything myself. And that's why I started giving back when I was really young. And then I realized like, I can help other people. And I think the support network that is around now for people when they're going through hardship is fantastic. Like a lot of the things weren't there when I was that age, and I think I think that charity and doing charitable work, it just puts things into perspective for me for life. You know, it's not just about working. Actually, you know, you need to enjoy life, and I get reward from helping others as well. So I do a lot of charity work.
Great, thank you, Manoj. And I'd like to ask all of the panelists, please feel free to chip in, but how important is social entrepreneurship these days? Because I think just being motivated by money isn't what drives people anymore. So for all of you, you can choose who goes first, but what does that look like for you?
So 10% of our annual proceeds goes to an orphanage in Ghana. And for me, two things that are very important is the whole idea of producing a product that's non-toxic is so that our product is supposed to help you feel relaxed. It's supposed to help you unwind at the end of a busy day. Some of our products actually have health benefits that help you with stress and depression. So receiving messages from our end users telling us, one of them last week said she's so thankful that she found Flickr Week because she buys from us and the candles actually helped us in her lockdown experience. That for me is heartfelt compared to the money that comes in. Yes, you need money to run a business, but knowing that you're actually meeting your company's mission and vision is fantastic. And also at the end of every year in December, I come home to Ghana and we go to the orphanage and donate to them and seeing the progress as well. And most of these kids actually remember us every time we go. So seeing the smiles on their faces just makes me feel very happy that I'm able to help them, to help the orphanage, the couple that run the orphanage to actually meet the needs as well of the children in the area.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's amazing. Incredible. Thank you.
Is it me now then?
Anyone else thinking?
I'm taking a breather still, Sasha.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, I think kind of just in terms of financial, I'm kind of a good example of where success can come in non-financial aspects, because on paper, everything that I've got and do, I am supposed to be absolutely balling rich right now, but I am not. I have operated from a place of survival and struggle from a very young age, and I'm still very much in that a lot of the time. I am often referred to as what you call a hustler, because I am not the right person to come to, because there's Rex and then there's me, and I just sell stuff. I've sold my house, sold my car, like everything, and so I do that because I believe and I know what's coming. And I also think it's very important for somebody like me to be out there for young people and for anybody really, because you kind of always see the people that have made it, but not the ones that are on the way or that are a bit different to the norm. And I am not your typical serial entrepreneur at all by any means. So I think in terms of social, in that regard, I'm very blessed to be able to bring that. It's very powerful for people that maybe have come from similar circumstances to me, or just need to see someone that's a bit more representative, you know.
Yeah.
And we're in like 30 countries, so we have customers in 30 countries. As I said, I've got multiple brands, I've got stockists internationally, all of that stuff, but at the end of the day, I am a single parent with more outgoings than I've got coming in, and all the business still goes back in, all the money still goes back into the business, not to me, right? So you have to have more than money, because most of the time as an entrepreneur at the start, for sure, we haven't got any. We don't have the money, right? So you've really got to, just hone into that and really look at the benefits of it, but use those experiences and your representation for other people. So just, you know, I do mentoring through you guys, and it's not a young person, it's actually someone in a similar age to me. But just being able to do that, and for young people, I mentor young people too. And it's just any kind of thing that you can give back to anybody, whether it be through the business or through your personal experiences. That stuff sticks with you, because, you know, I think we all have that person or that job or that moment where something or somebody struck a chord with us that we probably still remember. you know, and I would love to be that person for at least one person. So yeah, it can never always be about the money. The determination of success in business is never just the money.
And I think you mentioned earlier when you first spoke that you put pictures of Black girls in STEM on your products, and that in itself is kind of a way of giving back and representation. And there are other ways to do it beyond donating. And I think that's what's good for young people to know, because they probably won't make money at the start.
Yeah.
You do need to have values. Like, do you all have company values that you stick by?
Yeah. So I can probably talk a little about your last point as well, the social enterprise bit. So Hammock, we're early stage startup. We don't make much revenue at this stage. We're just spending loads of money on the tech. But what we do have is people that are willing to give up their time in charitable services. So when COVID happened last year, in the first lockdown, the whole PPE crisis went massive. I'm sure you'll remember. So one of the charities where I'm the chairman for, so on the board, my CEO ran me and said, we've run out of PPE equipment and we can't send our care support workers, nurses out to look after young children and the elderly. So I just stopped working and just started calling suppliers up and said, have you got any masks? Have you got any gloves? What I found is people are just ripping people off, or they just deplete the stock straight away, right? So I then spoke to my team and went, you know what, let's set up a website. Cost us probably like 30, 40 pounds. And we set it up within like 24 hours. And then we started like tweeting it on social media and started targeting some of the journalists. And then some of the journalists retweeted us. And then all of a sudden we started getting traffic to our website. And then we started calling suppliers up to try and find people who've got stock in it, who've got stock of PPE. And then fast forward 3 months, all we did is dedicate our time, not money.
Mm-hmm.
In 3 months, we shipped over 1 million pieces of PPE.
Wow.
To about 250 hospitals and charities and refugees as well. And, that we did with a really rubbish website. And we just, it didn't cost anything. So that itself is like entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And it just shows like, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money to get a business running. And if we were making money off that business, I reckon we would have made about £5 million in 3 months.
Mm.
It's just unbelievable. So I think social enterprise, and I think the values for my team is always like, there's always someone much worse off out there, and there's always someone we can always help. So although we don't have loads of cash to donate to charities, we do have time, which we can donate.
Yeah. And sometimes I think we kind of underestimate the importance of giving time as well. Because that can help more, like you three volunteering on this panel, this hour of time that you're given, but the answers that you're able to give to people is more than maybe giving a product or giving your service. We had a question that's come in, Manoj, I think this is more catered to you, but they were saying they've started a tech business. They're selling a service, not selling a product. And they wanted to know, like, how do they get a team together to begin pitching to investors? Like, where do they start if they don't currently have the money to pay someone?
Yeah, so I guess what they're trying to say, start getting a team together. Yeah, so the first place to start is like your own network. Like, do you know any friends or colleagues, or do your friends know someone that's interested to start a business? Mm-hmm. And also the one step before that is you've got to figure out what type of people you want and the skill set gaps you have in your business. Right? Is it a tech person, or is it a salesperson or marketing person? And so once you've identified like what type of people you need, I think like explore your network, and then if that doesn't work, there's loads of websites out there who are where they have entrepreneurs who want to start a company. So like I think it's called startups.co.uk. So you can post jobs on there for where people will work with you for free for some equity in the business. So there are some resources out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that website's called startups.co.uk, I believe.
Thank you. And I had a question again for all three of you. So our general demographic is 16 to 25-year-olds usually. but all three of you, your shared experience was that you did work first and you did get experience. Do you think that we should be saying to young people, you should still be working and getting jobs? Should they still be getting jobs, or should they just start their own business?
I would say no, they don't have to. So I can only speak for myself. That was my path because that's the only options that I had at the time. Mine was very different. You just think of it, you know, I was in a hostel when I was working, when I was doing my GCSEs, any opportunities like that, unless it landed in my lap, it just seemed completely out of reach. Like I probably didn't even have the mindset that I could achieve that at that time, right? Yeah. I do not believe that they have to go the employment route first. Absolutely, it gives you, you know, like the commercial acumen, the different things, but equally it can be a negative thing, because the corporate world can be horrible. And actually, you don't have to work with certain people. You know, I think you kind of, when you work in the corporate world, you kind of, the approach is that you have to endure a lot. You know, you're in that space. That is the kind of environment you're in. You have to deal with these people. They are going to be like that. And that kind of, I don't think it is like that anymore. I think you can now work with different people and really be yourself and work with people that you're comfortable with. So whether it's employment or not, I have a couple of younger brothers. My daughter, who's 10, she's literally just doing a product right now, right? So we're working on that. I don't think that you have to go the route. I think if you need money now, and that's normally the driver, that you need some money right now, you can go that route. But I truly don't believe it. You know, if somebody's got an idea and got enough to go and start it and they haven't even had a job yet, I don't think it's a prerequisite, in my opinion.
Thank you. And Francis and Manoj, do you agree?
So I agree.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'll add a little bit to it. So if there's a company that you can either intern just to gain some experience in line with what you want to do, then sure, you can do that. But yes, I 100% agree. If you have an idea, focus on it, work towards it, and make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's going to be difficult because you're definitely going to have to learn on the job, or you're going to have to shadow other people. But these are things that you would have to put up into as you're building a brand. 100%, yes. And I mean, if anything at all, last year taught us that you should do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, 100%.
And Manoj, yourself?
Yeah, I agree with both Francis and Sasha. Like, you don't need to have an education at all to start your own company. You don't need to necessarily go and get the experience even. And I think Sasha's right. Sometimes the experience can be so bad you're put off in that industry. Mm-hmm. You don't want to work in that industry, right? I'm pretty sure if I went to work in banking before I started Havoc, I'm probably sure I wouldn't want to work in banking. So I think I think what's important is, what's the current situation? Like, can you afford to buy bread right now and put food on the table? Like, if the answer is no, then obviously you need to go get yourself healthy, get yourself a job, and then working. Always good things come from working anyway, regardless. Like, you learn.
Can I add just a little note to that as well? I think something that's really important is, please don't put yourself in a job that you absolutely hate, because the mental impacts of that. I've been in jobs that I despised and that the management they were awful. It was just like, I don't even know how they got away with it. And the impact that had on me mentally and then eventually physically, even though of course I needed the money to eat, don't go for something like that. And I know sometimes you literally have no choice, but where possible, if you're going to go for a job, you've got to just make it a job that's, just a bearable job. You don't go for one that's really detrimental to your mental health, because it's never worth it.
Yeah.
100%.
It's finding that balance, isn't it, between needing to survive, needing to eat, but also needing to stay well mentally.
Yeah, I've never driven to Oxford for 3.5 hours if I didn't like the job.
Yeah. And we had a question sent in via email from someone who's watching, and they said they wanted to ask whether you prioritized marketing through Instagram and Facebook and Google Ads. And if not, what was your main form of marketing? I'm sure it's maybe different for all three of you. So again, I'll just put the question out to the floor and jump in.
And so with me, I do all three. So Facebook, Instagram, and Shopify marketing. I send out newsletters. Again, on my Instagram post, I'll always write a little line about subscribing to a newsletter. And again, another thing we can try and do is to entice more people to subscribe to your newsletter. It's always good to have a little story saying, oh, there's something coming up, a new product is coming up. If you subscribe to the newsletter, you have a code that you're going to use for that particular product. That again also helps. So yeah,
Thank you. And Manoj or Sasha, either one.
Yeah, I can. So for us, it's a bit slightly different. We do Instagram, social media, Facebook still, but it's not the driver for us to get customers. It's more like brand awareness.
Mm-hmm. Sasha, what's the technique?
It's mainly Instagram, and a lot of word of mouth. I looked on our statistics recently to see where a lot of the sales are coming from, and because of our niche and kind of my approach, we get featured on a few different websites, even without me knowing, just in terms of directories and stuff like that. But Instagram for sure is the main one. Since we launched, the plan was to go big, so I did a shoot called Melanin Magic, which was really focusing on natural beauty, natural hair with kids and adults and stuff. And the plan was to get billboards, full on, have all the models all over billboards, which I will still do at some point, because I feel like they seem like old school and outdated. But when we could actually go back outside, there might be some benefit in those. But Instagram, because that didn't kind of come to fruition, Instagram tends to be the main one that we get it. I haven't even to date really done any full-on proper marketing. So mainly just for financial restrictions. My main challenge is always financial. So I have to kind of do with what I've got, like I mentioned earlier. So Instagram, the Instagram shoppable will help. So I don't use Shopify. We use WordPress and WooCommerce. But because you can link the Instagram shopping with Facebook, we do that. So that helps sometimes, just the convenience of people just wanting to be able to tap the post and then, just go straight through. And we've just created Instagram pages for each brand. So now it's not just me operating from the Happy Hair Company, talking about all brands, which I don't think would be as effective. We've got an Instagram page for each brand for that demographic. So it's quite tailored. The language, our brand voice is different for each one, for example. We do styled photo shoots for the Curly Bride Company, because that is marketing in the bridal world. You have styled photo shoots where you have, beautiful gowns and your products and models and stuff, and that is kind of marketing. You collaborate with a load of vendors. So that's probably as close to marketing, proper marketing, that we've done, but very much so at the moment, Instagram.
Great, thank you. And the time seems to have just flown by, because I'm conscious now that we've only got a minute left, and I feel like there's still so much more that we can speak about and ask. But is there a way for our young people to contact you if they have questions? Like, could you share your Instagram pages or LinkedIn, whatever your preference is? Because I'm sure some people have questions that they'll probably want to ask, and people watching back as well who couldn't ask their questions live.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. My Instagram, Flickerwick Limited at Instagram or at Flickerwick Limited, and my email address is francis@flickerwicklimited.com. Ever so ready to answer any questions.
Amazing, thanks, Francis. And Sasha, your contact details, please, or Instagram page.
I'll just give you one of the brands, the main one that I'm always on. So at The Happy Hair Co is the Instagram. The website is thehappyhairco.com. And yeah, you can generally get me through DMs, or if you go on the website, you'll see there's the email addresses on there. LinkedIn is Sasha Atherton as well. So either of those.
Thank you, Sasha. And Manoj, please.
Yeah, same, nice and easy. So at Manoj Vasani at Twitter or Instagram. And actually LinkedIn as well, or at UseHammock, or all three platforms as well.
Great, amazing. Well, thank you again to all three of you for joining the conversation. It's been really interesting, and I love that
Thank you.
you've all got such different backstories, but seem to share the same view about, you know, being driven, mindset, overcoming challenges. So I hope for the people watching that this has been useful, and for those watching back, do feel free to contact the panelists as well if you have any questions. I've found it really enjoyable. So thank you guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And it's been a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to have you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Everyone.
Have a good evening, guys.
Bye.
Bye.